Picture two people drinking the same glass of pomegranate juice with the same hope. Inside one body, a useful compound appears. Inside the other, almost nothing does. The fruit has its own chemistry. Your gut has its own workers. The final output has its own rules. One hidden characteristic makes this route resist the usual food advice. The serving is visible, the conversion is hidden. Now picture that red fruit on one side of four closed doors, with a worn mitochondrion on the other. By the end, you will know what each door can block, what the human trials actually found, and how to use 4 checks without fasting. Miss the hidden gate, and a very good food can still leave you just short of the result you thought you bought. The invisible force is conversion variability. That means the gut bacteria in one person may transform pomegranate compounds differently from the bacteria in another. This is not a verdict on your discipline. It is a difference in biological access. The evidence mix matters early. We have randomized human trials of direct urolithin A, a human trial comparing juice with a direct dose, a large meta-analysis of related foods, and human studies of gut metabolites. They answer different questions. None proves that eating one fruit guarantees autophagy in a human body. That restraint is useful. It lets us separate a promising route from a promise. It also protects the food from a claim it cannot carry. A pomegranate does not become worthless because one mechanism remains uncertain. It still belongs to the broader food evidence. The honest move is to keep each benefit attached to the kind of study that measured it. Human outcomes stay human outcomes. Molecular signals stay molecular signals. A gut association stays an association. Clear labels make the whole case stronger. The route begins at the plate and ends at a cell. We will walk it in order: food compounds, gut conversion, blood exposure, mitochondrial response, and measurable outcomes. The route sounds long because the mechanism is where the useful truth lives. One checkable fact comes first. In a study of 100 adults, only 12% had detectable urolithin A before the test. After one glass of pomegranate juice, only about 40% converted the precursor compounds into urolithin A. That means identical shopping does not guarantee identical exposure. The ingredient label records the input. Your biology determines the output. The serving is visible, the conversion is hidden. At the plate, pomegranate, berries, and nuts can bring L-tannins or ellagic acid into the root. Think of these compounds as sealed parcels. They contain starting material, not the finished delivery. That distinction can feel annoying if fasting did not suit you. You may have searched for a food that flips the same cellular switch with less strain. The search was reasonable. The shortcut was oversold. Your effort was not the failure. The word contains was doing too much work. Food supplies the parcel. It does not stamp the final receipt. At the first door, the parcels reach the gut, where bacteria can turn their contents into urolithin A. Can is the load-bearing word. The 100-person human comparison found about 40 converters after the juice, while most participants did not show that same conversion. What that means practically is simple. Put 10 people around a table with the same glass, and roughly 4 may produce detectable urolithin A after it. The other 6 are not lazy, careless, or broken. The door has different locks. This is the first release. The problem lives in the root, not in your character. At the microbe pattern, the converters in that trial had greater microbiome diversity and a higher firmicutes to Bacteroides ratio. Those were associations. They do not prove that eating a food, buying a probiotic, or chasing a ratio will turn a non-converter into a converter. That refusal matters. A measured difference can identify the doorway without handing us the key. I will return later to the direct dose that bypassed this door. First, the food route needs its Ferris test. The menu records one thing, the microbial result does not. At the second glass, now imagine the anonymous pair again. Same kitchen counter, Same red juice. Same intention. One person's gut makes measurable urolithin A, the other person's gut does not. This pair is an illustration of the study result, not a clinical case. The contrast explains why testimonials split so sharply. One person can report a change and mean it. Another can report nothing and mean that too. Neither story tells you what will happen in your body. The glass is a shared input. The conversion is a private event. We have now completed the food side of the route. The next 4 findings show what changes after urolithin A becomes available and why that still does not equal guaranteed autophagy. At direct exposure, the same 100-person trial compared a glass of juice with a food product containing 500 milligrams of urolithin A. The direct product produced more than 6-fold greater exposure than the juice, with a probability value below 0.0001. In plain language, the direct form did not wait for each gut to finish the conversion. It arrived as the finished compound. The closed door was bypassed. That does not make 500 milligrams a recommendation. The study tested exposure, and its summary did not provide adverse event data. If you take medication or manage an ongoing condition, that dose is worth asking your doctor about. The package says pomegranate. The bloodstream sees what gets through. At the mitochondrion. Mitochondria are the small energy-making structures inside cells. Mitophagy is the selective cleanup process that removes damaged mitochondria. Urolithin A is studied as a mitophagy activator, but a mechanism marker is not the same as a felt human outcome. In the first human safety trial, healthy sedentary older adults received single doses or repeated doses for 4 weeks. The 500 and 1,000 milligram daily groups showed changes in blood acylcarnitines and muscle gene expression linked to mitochondrial health, but those were secondary outcomes. The trial met its primary safety goal. Even so, a favorable result in selected healthy adults does not clear a supplement for every medication or condition. The cell signal moved. Daily life was not yet measured. At 4 months, a randomized placebo-controlled trial in middle-aged adults tested 2 daily dose levels of direct urolithin A for 4 months. Muscle strength improved by about 12% versus placebo, while peak power output, the primary endpoint, did not improve significantly. The same trial reported clinically meaningful gains in peak oxygen use and 6-minute walking distance. It also found lower acylcarnitines and C-reactive protein, plus more muscle proteins linked to mitophagy and mitochondrial metabolism. The honest verdict is mixed and interesting. Strength moved. The main power measure did not. This is the reversal. Variable conversion makes food unreliable as a delivery system, but direct availability makes the compound easier to study under controlled conditions. At older muscle, another double-blind placebo-controlled trial followed 66 adults aged 65 to 90. They took 1,000 milligrams of urolithin A each day for 4 months. The 2 primary outcomes were 6-minute walking distance and maximal energy production by muscle. Neither improved significantly versus placebo. Muscle endurance, measured as contractions until fatigue, did improve in both tested muscles after 2 months. Blood acylcarnitines, ceramides, and C-reactive protein also fell. The supplement was described as safe and well-tolerated with no difference in adverse events versus placebo. A supervised trial can support that dose in that population. It cannot turn the dose into a universal instruction. The calendar says 4 months. The endpoint tells the real story. At trained performance, the strongest body can expose the same gap. In 2025, 42 competitive male distance runners at an altitude camp received 1,000 milligrams per day or placebo for 4 weeks. Their 3,000-meter time trial did not improve significantly. Perceived effort fell, and creatine kinase, an indirect marker of muscle damage, was lower. Muscle proteins shifted toward mitochondrial pathways, but the effect on mitophagy markers was medium and not statistically significant. Measured mitochondrial function did not change. The safety summary noted no adverse effects, though detailed adverse event data were not provided. That is reassuring within the trial and incomplete outside it. The stopwatch says one thing, recovery signals do not. At the food evidence, direct supplements are easier to standardize than meals, so the food question needs its own ledger. A 2018 meta-analysis pooled 128 randomized clinical trials of foods and products containing elagitannins or anthocyanins. Elagittannin products, especially nuts, lowered waist size, LDL cholesterol, triglycerides, and glucose most clearly in people who already had overweight or obesity. Both elagittannin and anthocyanin products lowered total cholesterol. Evidence was limited or absent for many benefits in people at normal weight. That finding supports foods as foods. It does not prove that the benefits came through urolithin A or autophagy. The plate may help several systems. The hidden route is only one candidate. At the metabotype, a 2024 human trial gave elagittannin and ellagic acid-rich pomegranate extract to people with overweight or obesity and mild cholesterol problems. Researchers grouped them by urolithin metabotype, meaning the pattern of metabolites their gut bacteria produced. The extract reduced stool coprostanol and bile acid production, with the largest changes in one producer group called UMB. Those reductions tracked with urolithin concentrations, mainly stool urolithin A. That is a human association inside an intervention. It still does not prove that raising urolithin A caused the marker changes. The extract dose and adverse event details were not available in the summary, so concentrated extracts deserve a doctor conversation. The bottle looks standard. The microbial type is not. At the hard falsifier, a 5-week randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trial gave 30 people with stable chronic lung disease 400 milliliters of pomegranate juice each day. That juice supplied 2.66 grams of polyphenols. It made no measurable difference to blood measures, lung function, or symptoms versus placebo. None of the juice polyphenols appeared in blood or urine. Gut bacteria converted the elagitannins into other compounds that showed no antioxidant capacity in that study. No harms were reported, but the drink produced no clinical benefit in that population. 400 milliliters daily is a study dose, not a target, especially if concentrated juice could complicate your care. The label promises polyphenols, the person may receive something else. This is the myth-bust node. The familiar claim says pomegranate is rich in compounds linked to cellular cleanup. That part is true, but richness at the plate is not exposure at the cell. In the controlled comparison, only about 40 of 100 adults converted after the juice, while direct 500 mg urolithin A produced more than 6-fold the exposure. Conversion changes the claim. Picture a delivery truck parked outside 4 locked doors. Counting parcels does not tell you how many reached the room. Food advice prefers an easy noun. Biology uses a root. 4 conditions now converge. First, the food must contain useful precursors. Second, your gut community must transform them. Third, the resulting urolithin A must become available to the body. Fourth, the downstream response must matter on a human endpoint. The fourth condition is the surprise. A blood marker can move while walking distance does not. Muscle proteins can shift while a time trial stays the same. Even direct urolithin A can produce a selective result instead of a total transformation. Think of 4 lamps wired in series. The first can glow while the fourth remains dark. Seeing the precursor proves the first connection. Detecting urolithin A proves a later connection. A molecular change reaches farther. A meaningful human endpoint is the final lamp. Each result matters, but none can stand in for the lamp after it. That is deeper than a food list. It is a chain of permissions. The 4 closed doors are finally ready to be named. But first, I want your real kitchen in the picture. Look in your fridge. How many of these are already sitting in there? Tell me the number. I caught myself making the same reading mistake while laying these studies side by side. I treated the ingredient as though it were already the outcome. That is an editorial confession, not clinical evidence. The papers corrected the picture. The pomegranate can be valuable. The route can still stop at conversion. The direct compound can reach blood. The outcome can still miss a primary endpoint. You were not foolish for wanting the easier route. You were handed a label when you needed a map. The first 2 acts compressed to 4 permissions: precursor, converter, exposure, response. No precursor, no route. No converter, no food-derived urolithin A. No exposure, no downstream signal. No meaningful endpoint, no reason to inflate the claim. The fruit starts the story. Your biology edits the ending. Now 3 unknowns are open. The exact name of the 4-door check. The research numbers that keep it honest. The common mistake that can make a reasonable plan sound far stronger than it is. Before the protocol, there is a wider claim to clean up. You have heard that fasting is the reliable path to autophagy, while a specific food is the easy replacement. The first half reflects a real biological tool. The second half compresses several uncertain steps into one marketable promise. This is not evidence of bad faith. Clear food headlines travel farther than conditional microbiome findings. A meta-analysis can show cardiometabolic benefits from elagitanin foods while leaving the autophagy pathway unresolved. 128 trials. That is a broad food signal, not proof of one cellular mechanism. You pay the price when those claims are blended. The 4-door check prevents that blend. Name the route. It is the gate check. 4 letters, 4 permissions, and everyone carries a number from the evidence rather than a made-up food dose. G means gather the 3 precursor families. A means allow for the 40 in 100 conversion result. T means tell food apart from the 500 milligram direct exposure test. E means escalate any supplement dose to the doctor who knows your history. The red fruit is no longer outside unnamed doors. The image now has a label. G, gather 3 precursor lanes. Those lanes are pomegranate, berries, and nuts. This is the food component. Their role is to supply elagitanins, ellagic acid, or related polyphenols that can enter the gut route. The human meta-analysis supports these foods for modest cardiometabolic outcomes, especially in people with overweight or obesity. It does not give a universal portion that guarantees urolithin A. So I will not invent one. The failure case is treating a giant serving as a stronger key. More starting material does not prove that your microbial lock will turn. The minimum effective claim is that these foods provide candidates for conversion. If whole foods fit your care plan, use that food role without calling it a fasting replacement. A. Allow for 40 in 100. This is the conversion component. After 1 glass of pomegranate juice, about 40% of the 100 adults in the comparison produced urolithin A. Only 12% had detectable levels at baseline. The practical unit is a room of 10 people. Roughly 4 converted after the glass, while roughly 6 did not show the same result. That arithmetic is a population picture, not a test for you. The failure case is assuming silence means failure. A person may eat the precursor and lack the required microbial route. No validated home test or food trick appears in this fact set. So the minimum effective allowance is uncertainty. The serving is visible, the conversion is hidden. T. Tell food from 500 milligrams. This is the exposure component. In the randomized comparison, direct urolithin A produced more than 6 times the exposure from the juice. That result shows what bypassing conversion can do to blood availability. It does not prove that 6 times the exposure creates 6 times the health benefit. The trial measured exposure, not a complete outcome ladder. The failure case is moving a research dose into your cupboard because the number looked precise. 500 milligrams is a tested amount in that study. It is not a personal dose from me. The minimum effective distinction is food precursor versus finished compound. The first waits at the microbial door. The second bypasses it. Escalate 1,000 milligrams. This is the safety and endpoint component. Daily 1,000 milligram doses appeared in 4-week and 4-month human trials. Older adults tolerated that dose well in one controlled study, yet the primary walking and energy production outcomes did not improve. Trained runners also used 1,000 milligrams daily for 4 weeks. Their effort and muscle damage marker improved, but their 3,000-meter time did not. The failure case is turning tolerated in selected trial participants into safe for my history. Those are different statements. The minimum effective move is a question for your doctor, especially with medication or an ongoing condition. It is worth asking. It is never a reason to stop medication. The mechanism in one breath is this. Precursors need converters before urolithin A can reach a mitochondrial response. G supplies the parcel. A checks the lock. T separates the parcel from the finished compound. E keeps a research number from becoming an unsupervised prescription. The check is useful because it preserves both sides of the truth. Pomegranate belongs in a good diet for many people. Pomegranate does not guarantee a particular cellular cleanup result. The plate says possible. The pathway does not say promised. The protocol is more fragile than its name. The most common failure is endpoint drift. That happens when a study reports one encouraging marker, while the headline quietly upgrades it to total autophagy, better performance, or a guaranteed human benefit. It can happen when you are tired of fasting. It can happen when a supplement label looks clinical. It can happen when a friend felt better and you want the same relief. The named concept to keep is endpoint hierarchy. Primary endpoints are the main outcomes a trial was built to test. Secondary markers can guide the next study, but they do not erase a missed primary result. The minimum effective standard is one clear question: what actually improved? You do not need perfect knowledge, but you do need the real endpoint. Expectation reset. Food works through systems, and systems vary. Precision means keeping the chain intact. This is the honest meaning of pomegranate and autophagy without fasting. Pomegranate can supply precursor compounds. Some gut communities turn them into urolithin A. Human trials of direct urolithin A show biological signals and selective benefits. None of that makes a glass of juice a guaranteed autophagy switch. G is 3 food lanes. A is about 40 converters in 100 after 1 glass. T is the more than 6-fold exposure from a direct 500 milligram product. E is the doctor conversation before copying a 1,000 milligram research dose. You now know what each of the 4 doors can block. The near miss is visible, and the route is actionable without pretending that food and fasting are interchangeable. Take away one idea and let it be this one. Eat the food for the role the evidence can support. Treat conversion as unknown. Separate precursor foods from direct urolithin A. Judge trials by their main outcomes. Bring concentrated products and supplement doses to someone who knows your medical history. I would rather you checked than trusted me, so every study is in the description. Nothing here is tailored to you. Take the idea, then take it to the person who has your file. Next up is the question I get asked most about testing your gut bacteria for urolithin A. If the gate check changed how you read the label, Comment Gate. Your examples help shape what I examine next.